Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau
and Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you are trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you are welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details. Welcome back to the Vibrantly You podcast. Today is going to be a short episode. I'm going to be talking about a big question that I get quite often on social media, which is, can I work out in pregnancy if I was not active before? Now, advice that many people receive from their doctor is, or even like online, I see people commenting this a lot in comment sections, is just keep doing what you're doing, or that it's only safe for you to do things that your body is used to. Now, this comes from a well-meaning place, right? Like, of course, if you're used to, say playing tennis, right? Now you're pregnant. Okay, well, your body is used to that. And playing tennis, that's something that's, unique, the way that there's a lot of like rotation and things like that. And so if you're already used to that, that's going to be safe for you in pregnancy. Whereas if you're someone who's never played tennis before, you might not want to pick up that activity when you're pregnant because your body's not used to it. Again, there's a lot of rotation and coordination and stuff like that. So that might not be the best option for you. And so I feel like that's kind of where this advice stemmed from. But now it's been taken very literally of like, okay, if you're not someone who goes to the gym regularly pre-pregnancy, you cannot work out in pregnancy. Like, it is bad for you. It's not safe, whatever. Here's the thing. If your provider has cleared you to exercise in pregnancy, so you do not have contraindications, you're not a high-risk pregnancy, whatever, it is perfectly safe for you to start a workout routine. In fact, ACOG, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, recommends physical activity in pregnancy. So exercise in pregnancy is associated with minimal risks. It has been shown to benefit most people. You just might need to make some modifications along the way because of the postural and anatomical changes that naturally happen during pregnancy. And I talk about this a lot on the podcast, in my social media, on my blog. There are so many postural changes that happen in pregnancy. And so we need to make accommodations for that. But exercising really helps with those changes that happen. So yes, we need to make some adjustments, but it's also really, really beneficial. And so, like I said, as long as you've been cleared by your doctor to exercise, perfectly safe. And what the recommendations are on the ACOG website is that pregnant people should get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity every single week. So 150 minutes, that is over 2 hours of exercise. So let's see, if we divide that by 7 days a week, it's about 20 minutes a day of exercise every day. Now, again, this is moderate intensity aerobic activity, right? So trying to get your heart rate up using large muscles of the body. So like your legs, lower body. Moderate intensity does mean that you're moving enough that's going to raise your heart rate. You might start sweating. You can still talk normally and hold a conversation, but you're not like singing, So that's kind of how you can gauge it. Like, I like to tell people too, if you think of a scale of like 1 to 10, where 1 is you're sitting at rest, 10 is like you're exercising the hardest you ever have in your life. Try to fall somewhere between like 4 and 7. That's usually what we aim for. So, like I said, 150 minutes, that ends up being about 20 minutes a day, thinking about 7 days a week. Or you can do like 30 minutes, 5 days a week-ish. You can also do less, right? Like 150, that'd be great if you're hitting that. But even if you're not, like, that's okay. We're not aiming for perfection here. Every little bit counts. And I always like to remind people of that too. Everything that you can do counts. It all adds up. We definitely don't want to have this like all or nothing perfectionism mentality in pregnancy because if you're listening to this and you're pregnant, pregnancy is very unpredictable and day to day, week to week is very different. And so it can be really hard to keep up like a consistent weekly or daily routine. So really, we're just trying our best here, right? And if you're new to exercise, now suddenly trying to get in 150 minutes a week, or again, like 20 minutes a day every day, that's going to feel so overwhelming. And so there's just going to be a lot of friction with that, right? Like if you're not used to doing anything, that feels like a lot. So instead, what you could do is start out with like 5 minutes a day, even if that's just 5 minutes of intentional stretching or breath work. These are all things that are very important. Starting out slow, something you enjoy, doing a walk. And then from there, you can slowly build. So when I think about clients that I've worked with, a lot of people have come to me brand new to exercise. And that's why they seek out a coach in pregnancy because they're like, I'm not someone who exercises. I don't know my way around the gym. I don't know how to put together a workout, but my provider said, I'm clear to exercise. I know how important it is. I've been seeing on social media or online how important exercise is to help me feel better in pregnancy, to prepare for birth, to help me in postpartum. And I need guidance. I need advice. And so I actually have, I would probably say like 75% of people that come to me are brand new to exercise. So let's go through how I typically like progress people who are new. So usually we start out with like 2 days a week, and I'm starting them with body weight exercises. And I like to think about the main movement patterns. So these are going to be things like squats, hinges. A hinge is like a deadlift, carrying exercises, upper body push and pull, some rotational stuff, like things that you're doing on a daily basis in your day-to-day life that you might not really think like, oh, this is like exercise, right? Those functional movement patterns. That's what we start with just body weight. And what I really like to hone in on is breathing technique. So breathing is the most important thing that you will do in both pregnancy and postpartum. It is the foundation for everything, for core and pelvic floor health, for pressure management. This is something that you need to master, and the sooner you can do it, the better. So we're starting with that breath work, body weight, foundational movements. I usually start them with lower reps and less sets to again reduce some overwhelm, to kind of ease in, to make it feel less daunting. And so then as they start to feel more confident in these movements, they're getting the breathing technique down. They can add in the breathing, like layer on the breathing technique with the body weight exercises. Then we start to add in some resistance. So usually I'll start with some resistance bands and some light weights. And as it gets easier, we generally increase from there in terms of adding weights. Now, of course, symptoms might come up in pregnancy like pain, leaking. You might start to get really nauseous, if you're starting to work out in your first trimester, or like the fatigue comes on. So we also accommodate for all of these things because I think it's really important to acknowledge that like there are very real obstacles that come up in pregnancy, very real. I don't like to call them excuses, but sometimes trainers are like, no excuses. And like in pregnancy, that's just ridiculous because your body is going through so many changes. Like you're going to have very real, valid reasons why working out is just not in the cards today. And that's totally okay and understandable. And I am never, ever going to make you feel guilty for that. Instead, we adapt, we accommodate, we keep moving forward. We're not going to worry too much about it. So, it's important to remember too, like it's not going to be linear because again, you're pregnant. Like this is different than if you were starting exercise as a non-pregnant person. And usually your progress is a little more linear. You're getting stronger. We're starting to hit like PRs and increasing weight and, stuff like that. But with pregnancy, it's not always so linear. Sometimes you have a really good week. Sometimes the next week we have to pull back a little bit, and that's okay. That's all part of the process. But I will say most clients, once we start working together, feel significantly better. So these are people who have never worked out before, right? They feel significantly better within 2 to 3 weeks of working out. So this means they're experiencing less aches and pains, better mobility, more ability to get around in their day-to-day activities, more energy, they're sleeping better. So they just start to notice, like, oh, my body is feeling better right now. And then that creates some intrinsic motivation to keep going and stick with it. So, like I said, today is a short episode, but to answer the question, to recap, yes, as long as you have been cleared by your provider, it is perfectly safe to start a workout routine in pregnancy. You just want to start slow, ease into it. I do recommend working with a professional who is well versed and well trained in working with pregnant people. I do think that is really important. So, whether that's a prenatal trainer like me, or you go see a pelvic floor physical therapist, having someone who can adapt, modify, accommodate for all the things that arise in pregnancy is really helpful and also just gives you a sense of feeling safer and also teaching you how to trust your body and understand the signs that your body is telling you for when maybe you need to back off or make a change. It's just really helpful to have someone there and like guide you through that and kind of explain what's going on. So I will drop links in the show notes for you from those ACOG recommendations and some studies that you might find interesting. If you are pregnant yourself and you're looking for some guidance, I will also drop some information on my one-on-one coaching for pregnancy, as well as a new offer that I have, which is called Vibrant Start. This is like a movement audit and a like mini intro into coaching. So if you're like, oh, coaching sounds interesting, but like, I don't know that I want to commit to something long term, Vibrant Start is a great place to start so that you can kind of get a feel for like what exercises are appropriate for you. You get a sense of my coaching style and if we would be a good fit. So I will drop the links to both of those below. Please connect with me on Instagram and TikTok at Vibrant Mama Wellness. Follow the podcast on Instagram at Vibrantly You Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get all of our future episodes, and we will be back next week.